Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of our DIY workshop series. We're going to be talking about how to replace a faucet. My name is Emmanuel. I'm going to be your host throughout this workshop to really kind of guide you along the way. And yes, we're going to do some demos in this particular workshop. So, what we're going to discuss in this workshop today, types of faucets that exist. Yes, there's more than one type of faucet, as you probably already know. But when I actually do a demo of uninstalling a kitchen faucet specifically, we're going to transition from this two-handle faucet with the side square, as you see on this display right here. And what we're going to actually do is replace it with this single-handle faucet by Delta, specifically the DeLuca. It's going to give us a pretty clean and very seamless look. Now, for those of you who are doing a bathroom faucet, majority of the steps are actually pretty the same. And some of you all may be going to the workshop and you want to change out the pop and drain assembly. We're going to go through a step-by-step on how to execute that as well. So that way you can have the full experience of how to replace a faucet, whether it's in your kitchen or whether it's in your bathroom. Ready to rock and roll? Let's get this thing started. When we're talking about different types of faucets, we kind of show you that. You walk into a Home Depot store, man, there's like 80-foot aisle full of all types of faucets from bathrooms, kitchens, things of that nature, different finishes from chrome, brushed nickel, oil rub bronze, matte black, brushed brass, bright brass, all types of things. And if you go on laundry, you could probably find another 50 for each faucet online. So there's hundreds, if not thousands of options out there for you. We want to give you some keen insights of what to look for when you're shopping for your particular faucet or whichever rig you're actually installing it in. First and foremost, more common type is going to see in a bathroom is what they call a 4-inch center set. Two handles, left and right, hot and cold, and then you have your spout that's actually center set. Now, the 4 inches is measuring the actual water inlet from here to here or the center of each particular faucet handle on top. You can see that there's one entire body right here when it comes to this particular style of faucet. This is your most common one that you're going to see inside of the actual bathroom. Now, this one actually has a little bit more of a higher arcing neck, so there's really convenience there. They especially have a very shallow bowl sink basin as well for your vanity. So this is your more common bathroom faucet, if you will. Now, another type of bathroom faucet that you may come across, it could be an 8-inch widespread. So as you can imagine, if the 4-inch center set is measuring from the center of each faucet handle, it's going to be the same thing for this. When you hear someone reference a widespread faucet, typically it's going to be an 8-inch. Now, there are going to be some custom sizes like 10 and 12, but more commonly, you will find these in 8-inch. Now, here's the reason why I'm showing you these two types of faucets up front. If you are in the mindset to say, hey, I would love to have that widespread look for my bathroom vanity, but you currently have a 4-inch center set, here's where your problem will lie. Notice that this 4-inch for the inlets are for the 4-inch center set. They do not align with where the holes are for the 8-inch widespread. So whether you're swapping from one to the other, what you're going to have to do is to change your vanity top. Find the vanity top that will accommodate what you're trying to convert to, 4-inch or into an actual 8-inch widespread. Now, let me kind of show you an alternative just in case. Let's say, for instance, you want to go for something that's a single hole. While we're going from a multiple hole or a kitchen faucet going out to a single hole, you can actually kind of do the same thing when it comes to a bathroom faucet as well. So if you notice, this is kind of very popular style faucet right now, kind of that waterfall look to it as well. Notice that it has kind of a base plate, if you will, we call it an escutcheon plate, right here to cover the additional holes. Notice this. I'm going to unwrap these supply elements here. The holes are still there, but the base plate is covering those two holes. And guess what? If I wanted to go from this to maybe back to a 4-inch center set, I can do that because guess what? Those holes align just perfectly, folks. So, easy conversion to go from a single hole with a base plate to a 4-inch center set, assuming that the holes have been drilled appropriately for the vanity top that you currently have. This is what's going to save you some money and not have to require you to replace that vanity top. Just remember, if you go into an 8-inch widespread, it will be critical for you to actually change out the actual vanity top. We are, folks. We're in the workshop here. Here we go. So look, those are the different types of faucets. I'm going to show you this too as well. 8-inch widespread, Same exact dimensions as a kitchen faucet. Same exact dimensions. So that actually is an 8-inch wide square as well, but we're going to refer to those as an 8-inch wide square. We're just calling your traditional kitchen faucet, if you will. Right? Now we're going to show you some tricks and tips of how we're going to cover up those additional holes when we get to the actual install itself. Now, when it comes to installing a faucet, there's all going to be a few tools that you're going to actually need. Not a lot of them, and none of them are power tools. You'll do more hand tightening than what you will with the actual tool, but they are going to be super essential to making sure that this job can go seamless for you. The first tool I'm going to show you, probably familiar with it, it's called an adjustable wrench or an adjustable spanner wrench. Some of you may refer to it as a crescent wrench because that's the company that mass produced them for a while. This is what's going to help us remove the actual supply lines to the water shuttle, if you will. So we'll show you what this looks like in action. Second tool, one of my favorite tools, is a basin wrench. Kind of has a little lobster claw head. It's spray loaded on there, so it kind of snaps back in place. What I like about this is, think about this. When you're under your kitchen cabinet or under your bathroom vanity cabinet, there'll be kind of a tight quarters, if you will. So if you're going to be dealing with the wall behind you, the turn valves, and you're looking up, well, you don't really have a lot of space to swing a long tool like this. So this tool allows you, with this grip, to kind of hold it in this manner, and then to actually be able to pivot this particular lobster claw, or head, if you will, to be able to tighten or to loosen certain types of lock nuts and things that may be attached for your faucet install. So a basin wrench, right? Now, our third tool, I wish I had this tool when I first started doing plumbing projects around the house. It's the rigid faucet tool. This rigid faucet tool is going to be super critical to a lot of different parts to give you leverage, give that extra torque to be able to loosen and tighten certain parts when it comes to your actual install for your faucet. It actually has a couple of different attachments on here that will aid you if you're changing out drain basins and things of that nature as well. But we're not going to use this part of it. And we'll show you what it looks like in action as well. Now, while you're down there under your cabinet, I recommend before you start shutting things off and start disconnecting things, I recommend you go ahead and start cleaning out that particular cabinet that should be working inside out. If there are any removable shelves that are in there, take them out. Any excess cleaning products, anything that you're storing down there, take it out. We want to have as much room to kind of breathe and move around as possible inside of probably a 30 or 36-inch wide vanity, if you will, or a kitchen cabinet. Go ahead and get you a bucket because you may need to have a bucket to actually the certain part of this install to dump out some excess water or to catch any leaks that may be happening from some of the supply lines and drains, if you will. And this would be a great time to go ahead and just get the cobwebs from under the cabinet as well. And go ahead and get some cleaner, something of that nature. In no words, no whys. This is not a 5-minute project, so you will be laying out on your back, and the front edge of your cabinet will kind of be digging into your lower back. So I recommend you get yourself maybe some type of towel or pillow that can kind of rest under the middle, not lower part of your back, so that way you're not super uncomfortable while doing this project. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and move this over to my display area. What we're going to do is actually show you all step by step how to remove the faucet. We're going to make sure we got a good angle here. Make sure we're positioned pretty good. All right. Cool. And what I'm going to do is make sure I have me a bucket available to make sure that we can execute this project with perfection. Right. So a couple of things. What I want you to do is when you get down under your actual sink, what I want you to pay attention is locate your supply, your water shut-off valves, if you will. And you may have one or another type. You're not going to have both. You shouldn't have both, but one or the other. First one is a multi-turn compression valve. Now, if I turn it to the side here, I want you to kind of focus your eye right here on this little, where my finger is, where this collar is. If I turn this multiple times, you should start to see that that collar is extending. If you see that your collar is extended like this on your shutoff valve, this is letting you know that this valve is open, okay? So what you want to do is just turn it. It takes about 3 full revolutions to fully close it. You're just going to hand tighten it, no tools yet. And that's it. Once it kind of shortens down like that, this valve shouldn't be closed. All right, and I'll give you some other precautions in just a moment. Now, on the other hand, you may have this type of shut-off valve. This is a quarter turn shut-off valve. So it doesn't take multiple turns to open or to close this particular valve. It literally is a quarter of a turn. Now, same concept. If it's in line here with the actual supply line, this valve is open. And you'll see we'll designate this on the actual knob itself. But if I turn it this direction, it's no longer in line with the actual supply line. This valve should be closed. So this is the first step to removing a faucet. All right. I'm going to come around here really quickly. And what I want to do is, now that I've turned the valve off, I want you to have a towel very close by. And what I want you to do is set the towel right below your actual shutoff valve. Because as you start to loosen this supply line from the shutoff, there's going to be a little bit of water in here. Now, when you slowly adjust your wrench and slowly start loosening it, what I want you to do is pay attention. If there's water starting to shoot out here with some pressure, I want you to tighten that line right back down, because this valve is not closed. Okay, not all the way at least. And I'll have a fix for you in just a moment. But if it's slowly, just a slow trickle of water coming out, you should be okay. I want you to put that towel below it, because I don't want you to cause any type of damage or any warping to the actual base of your cabinet itself. Okay, so assuming that there's just a slow trickle, a little bit of water, the valve we believe is closed. Once again, you have your towel handy, maybe that bucket available, or pot, if you will, then you should be good to go. All right, so you just loosen it up. Once you get it tight or loosened, you can just do it with your hand. All right, once again, imagine that this is still going to be attached to the wall, or maybe it's still coming out of the actual base of your cabinet, maybe the floor, if you will. So this is the only thing that's going to be loose. This should still be stationary. So you don't want to remove this from the pipe. You're just removing the supply line from it. Okay. Same concept here. You're going to have your hot and your cold water side. Just going to loosen it, and you should be good to go to remove it. All right. So we got that squared away. And so now let's go ahead and disconnect the side sprayer. For this particular faucet, it's pretty easy. It's little tabs right here, a little quick connect. I just squeeze on those and then pull down. Also a warning, there may be a little bit of water in this hose. You can go ahead and pour the excess into a bucket or a pot that's nearby, just to aid you in that process. All right? Now for the side sprayer to be fully disconnect the housing right here, there's a lock nuts, plastic. Once again, you shouldn't need any tools. It shouldn't be fastened out too tight, but maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you should just be able to kind of get some grip on those tabs and then just release. Once that lock nut comes off, you come back up top, or the and remove the body. Next step is, I want you to remove the supply lines. Now, enter in the actual second tool that we're going to use that I mentioned before, and that's the rigid faucet tool. As I told you, we don't need to remove the basin, the sink drain basin at all. So we're going to take this part out. Pulls right on out just like that. Now, we're also going to draw your eye to is this little cube right here. This cube actually does come out, but on this cube, there's little embossed on here or engraved in here some small numbers. We're going to turn it to the number 2 side, because we want to have that hex side that's going to help us disconnect from right here. Now, notice when I could take the cube out, I still want that channel. To be right here, because I want it to be in line with the channel that's right here. So I have like the number 2 side. I'll set it down in there, give me a little channel. And the reason is, I want it to fit like this. I'll feed it up the actual line, get a little grip on that hex nut, and I'm going to turn it counterclockwise. Once I get it loose, line number 1. Line number 2. Now, we don't need these supply lines anymore for this project, because the faucet that we're going to install actually has the supply lines built into it. So we're going to put these off to the side. Now, in order to get the faucet fully uninstalled, there's 2 lock nuts here, kind of like how the side sprayer was. They're shaped a little bit different though. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to take this cube out and we're going to turn it to the side that says number 1. Still want that channel to be in line though. And these little indentions right here are what's going to grab onto the fins of the lock nut. Same thing, turn it counterclockwise just to loosen it. Go to the other side. Put the tool down. Now we're just trying to remove those lock nuts. Number 1. Number 2. So all now we need to do is just go back to the top, pull it out. So now we're pretty much prepped to install our new faucet. Now, because I'm working at a kind of an awkward angle so that way you all can see under it, I have like a little specialized jig that's going to aid me when it comes to keeping that faucet propped up. But one part of this project that I will kind of stop and make sure that I shout out, it may require a second person just to make sure that you have the faucet straight. So as I mentioned before, this faucet, this Delta DeLuca, has the lines built into it, which is why, once again, we do not need the supply lines that we just took off. And it also designates which line is supposed to be hot, which one is supposed to be cold, because they color coordinated those specifically. I want to kind of get this as close as I can. I want to show you something on this actual faucet. It actually has the name brand embossed on the actual faucet itself. This is letting you know that this is the actual front of the actual faucet itself. So there's Delta right there, right? So what you want to do is, as you're standing in front of your actual sink, you want this part to face you. So your faucet will be like this. So it's letting you know to open it or to turn it on, you bend the handle out sideways and then you move it front or back for hot or for cold. So this is what the front of your faucet, this is how your faucet should look when you're facing it, once you fully install. All right, so all this stuff needs to go down into one of these holes. Now, since this was the center hole for where the spout was on the previous faucet, this is where we're actually going to place it because it's still going to be centered inside the actual sink itself. Set this for a quick second. See how awkward it could be, right? I'm going to set my little jig up to where it sits pretty flush accordingly. And it does have a retention ring that holds it in place. There's a rubber gasket in there to kind of keep it in place. Now, some people have the preference of using this base plate, which would cover up those 2 additional holes. Now, I'm a minimalist, so I kind of like a cleaner look than this kind of base plate, if you will. Right? So this would still have those same plastic lock nuts, but I'm going to show you an alternative. Versus using that base plate, we're going to use these sinkhole covers. These are about $4, if you will. They make them in white, oilwork bronze, matte black, brushed nickel, and they have the same lock nuts that we just removed from the original faucet. All right? So this is what's going to actually cover those 2 holes that were the inlets for our hot and cold water handles. Thread them up. Hand tighten those. And that neoprene gasket that's on there is what's going to give you that watertight seal. There's no need to use any type of silicone or glue or any type of adhesive. All right, right hand tighten on there till you can't go anymore. You should be good to go. Now, when we get done, I'm going to show you what it looks like, the finished look, the finished product, okay? Now, this 4th hole, I'm going to install a soap dispenser. What I want to do is go ahead and install the actual faucet first, because I know that's kind of what you guys are looking to see, what that looks like, all right? So, first things first. Remember, you should still have your shut-off valves that should still be mounted to whatever piping is coming out of the wall or coming out of the base of the actual cabinet itself. And so go ahead and make sure that you still go ahead and connect those back on there. These are pretty long, and they are pretty malleable. So if you need to bend them or curl them, you can do such. Don't worry about it. They shouldn't break or kink on you, all right? Put one on there. Don't open the valves yet. We're just reconnecting the supply line to the actual valve itself. All right. And some people will ask, hey, do I need to put any Teflon tape on these threads? For this specific make and model of faucet, the instructions, they specifically say do not add Teflon tape to these threads because there's already a proper coating and sealing here for these. So that's why, even though you're going through this workshop with us, you may not be installing the Delta to DeLuca. You may be installing another brand, another model, and they designate that you need to put Teflon tape. So make sure that you still read the instructions, okay? So make sure that you always read those instructions because every manufacturer has different recommendations for their products. They know best, all right? At this point, what I want you to do is slowly, very slowly start to open the valves back up for your supply line. What you're looking for is any trickle of water, any leaks here. If it is, take your adjustable wrench and tighten down on there a couple of quarter turns at a time. Not too tight, just a couple of quarter turns and you should be okay. Should be no water leaking out of the side of this particular pipe or of this supply line in a shutoff valve. All right. You do that for both your hot and your cold side. You don't see any leaks. Let's move on to the next step. Now, there is a clip that needs to kind of hold this in place. So this will be the step where you may want to have a secondary person available for you, okay? This is what's going to make the job a little bit easier when it comes to actually installing this. So this is the clip with a little washer. It's going to feed up this brass thread here and kind of hold it into like a C pattern to actually clamp the actual faucet down to the top part of the sink. And there's going to be a lock that's going to hold that in place. So what you're going to do for both of these pieces is feed them up. This is the actual spray hose line. Feed it through there. I'll put both pieces now for right now. And what you'll do is you want this clamp to be facing like a backwards C, right? So the clamp goes right here, but you want it to be as tight as possible. All right, so how I do it for this particular faucet, one finger is going to hold it here, and then the lock nut, you want to feed it up. You want to kind of hold the actual hoses back, so that way you have a clear path for your lock nut. All right, and you want to hand tighten the best that you can. Some of us, we have different strengths in our wrists and hands, so on and so forth. But you want to hand tighten this as best as you can. And remember, it's recommended to have a person up top kind of holding the faucet in place because we want to make sure that that Delta label is facing us, right? When we're actually on top of the actual, standing in front of the sink. And so you want to kind of just hand tighten as much as you can. And when you can't tighten anymore by hand, this is when you bring in the basting wrench. Now, you remember, I was turning it this way. I was turning it clockwise. For the actual basting wrench, I need the claw to be facing the opposite direction. All right, I'm going to kind of show you how this looks. So, hands back in the same position, kind of move the lines out of the way a little bit to give a clear path for the tool. And it's tension mounted, so you kind of push it on there like that, turn up, and then bend down. All right, same thing, turn up and then bend down. There's a bunch of like micro turns, if you will. All right, so pick the quarter turns on there. We want to hand tighten it best we can. We're going to need to over tighten, but we want to get it to where it's almost a struggle to turn it. We feel pretty confident that the seal that's on top of this, under this ring, it's really giving us that work tight seal, so we should be good to go. So now the actual faucet is properly mounted. Your person up top can let go of it, and you're almost home free. Now, for this particular model of single hole pull-out faucet, what they recommend is getting your bucket, and they want you to place it under this line right here. What this line is what connects directly. We're going to connect this eventually to your actual spray nozzle, if you will. But what they want you to do is to clear out any potential debris that may be in the hot and cold water lines and this line during manufacturing. So since you've already turned the valves on, you've opened the valves up for your hot and your cold. I want you to place your bucket right here. And then maybe it's either you or the person who was helping you hold the faucet in place. I want you to go back up top and actually open the faucet, turn it on. And then I want you to turn it to the hot side, turn it to the cold side, and when you're clearing out both lines. And you don't need to fill the bucket up, but a good 15 seconds per side is going to be ideal. Once you do that, you turn the faucet off up top, take the bucket of water, go and dump it out wherever it's convenient for you, outside or in the tub. And you should be good to go. Now, if you didn't disconnect anything below, like your P-trap, you can just pour it actually down your actual sink that you're actually working on with faucets. So it's a little bit of convenience there for you. Once you've cleared out that particular line for any potential debris, go ahead and connect this hose. Before you connect it, you actually need to put a little counterweight on there. It comes a little 1-2 pound weight. It drops down right here. And what this does is it helps when you pull that hose from the top side, that counterweight is going to pull it back down, so that way it'll fall back in the proper place. You'll connect these two lines right here, push it on with hands. Now, this could be a water pressure sensitive area, so they have a retention clip that keeps those two lines snapped together so they won't come apart in the event that you have high pressure buildup, if you will. Once you've done that, you're pretty much installed as far as that faucet goes. I said earlier, to cover up this fourth hole, I want to use a soap dispenser versus a side sprayer, because obviously our single hole faucet has its own sprayer with it. In order to install a soap dispenser, and this came with this actual faucet, you just unscrew the tank, set it to the side, and it comes with the same style lock nut as the side sprayer that we took off of the old faucet. All right, take that off, go up top, drop the body down. Now, bear in mind, there is a little gasket, this rubber gasket goes on top. That's what's going to give you the watertight seal for any overspray or runoff up top. And you just thread this on. Hand tighten, and then put your tank back on. All right, so we're pretty much installed. We'll go ahead and turn this around for you all, so you can see your finished product. I'm going to drop this down so we can really see it. My little jig out of the way for you. All right, you're good to go. So that's what the finished look will look like. You've got all the parts on there. So notice those sinkhole covers, very flat. You only see about maybe 1/8 of an inch, very low profile, right? See that faucet, we want it to be turned a certain way. So that's why you want to make sure that the person is holding up tight so that base doesn't get twisted when you're tightening that lock over there. Now, most people get concerned about this soap dispenser because they're thinking, oh my gosh, every time that I want to refill my soap dispenser, do I have to go under the actual sink and remove that tank? No, you don't. You simply just pull the pump out and you will pour your liquid, whatever your detergent is or your soap, whatever it is that you're trying to put in there, pour from the top. After you do that, you just simply put the pump right back down and it works just fine. So this is what the Delta DeLuca single hole faucet with soap dispenser looks like with sinkhole covers versus using the actual base plate or discussion plate that came with it. All right, now, as I promised, I gotta address folks who have a bathroom situation, right? So this is a kitchen faucet. So I'm gonna move this display out of the way. And then I'm gonna put another display up top. All right, now, if you all wanted to replace a bathroom faucet, let me turn this around really quickly. The steps are pretty much the same, folks. It has the same lock nuts, has the same supply lines, has the same shutoff valves on there as well. The only reason why I'm showing you this part is because some of you all may be switching finishes. You may be going from something that is chrome and going to something that's brushed nickel, or going to something that's matte black or brass. Well, it's okay when you're changing the faucet out, but the flange and the stopper that's on here inside your actual sink basin is going to be the original finish of your old faucet. And if you want it to match, you need to change out your actual your stopper, if you will, your pop-up drain assembly, if you will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to disconnect everything from below, everything that you need to disconnect, and we'll show you how to remove the actual flange that is in here and switch it out for something that matches. Okay, so I'm going to go a little higher, a little lower, keep where we were at. All right, cool. So what I want you to do is once you get under your actual sink, what I want you to do is a couple of different things. Now, the faucet, the pop-up drain assembly that we're using, it is more of a quick connect situation. Not every particular faucet pop-up drain assembly is the exact same, but it's very close, very similar. First thing I want you to do is loosen these lock nuts on your P-trap, okay? And then loosen it, hand loosen. You don't need to loosen it all the way, but just loosen them enough, the way where it's loose enough to where I can get this off the actual tail piece itself. Be mindful, there could be a little bit of water in your P-trap, so you may have that same bucket available for you as you did for maybe your kitchen faucet, if you will, all right? Because there may be a little bit of water in there, and that's normal, all right? Now, the next part is what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and loosen the lock nut that's right here. There's a lock nut and a doubled washer, a rubber washer. That's kind of your last line of defense to make sure that as water is leaving your actual kitchen sink, or excuse me, your bathroom sink, it's not going to let any water, drop down into the base of your actual vanity, all right? So this one may be a little on there, a little tight, but little tugs on there, and you have lock nut will come right off. And you can kind of pull down a little bit on that double washer, just a little bit, all right? Now, to get the rest of this part on, let me kind of turn this to the side here. Maybe we can zoom in on this piece a little bit, all right? Right here, we need to get this part off right here. There's a little blue hasp that even has an arrow on here. We're going to lift up on that little blue hasp to remove it. And this is the actual lift rod extension. This part, lift rod extension. This is the actual horizontal rod, which would actually lift the stopper up and down. It has two little quick connect tabs on here. So I'll just grab them those and then just pull them out. Pull this whole little bung out. I'm sure this close up in just a second here. Let me turn this back to the side. All right. Now, when it comes to the tail piece, you may need to kind of put your hand down on the flange up top or have somebody do that for you, kind of put a little pressure down on there, because this tail piece is threaded into the actual flange that's up top. You usually turn that kind of a clockwise position until it comes out. Good to go. Get your stopper out. Now the flange may be kind of adhered in place by way of plumber's putty. You may just be able to knock it up from the bottom or kind of pry it out with a very I don't recommend a sharp tool. It'd be a dull pry tool, if you will, because I don't want you to scratch the bottom of your sink basin, all right? But that's what you're trying to get out to match the new finish of your new faucet. Now on the back side, that lift rod extension has a little quick connect. Push down that, and it disconnects, and then the lift rod comes out as well. All right, so here's your lift rod. Here's the lift rod extension. This is a little quick connect right here. Little disconnect right there. All right, so just letting you know what that looks like, and you're good to go. All right, so those are the parts. So now let's do it in reverse. We've got our new faucet. We got our new pop-up drain assembly. What do I do first? I would recommend that you get yourself some plumber's putty. Let me show you what it looks like. It literally is like Play-Doh. It's very malleable, right? And what you want to do is get your little piece out of there, or a decent sized piece. You can be able to put the excess back in if necessary. You kind of roll it up into a nice little long, thin line, if you will. And what you're trying to do is line it around the actual bottom part of the actual flange itself, just like that. Little bead around it. This is kind of your first line of defense when it comes to water leaving the actual sink basin. As you set that down on there, water is still going to be around here, right? So you want to just push down on that, right? It doesn't need to fully set and cure into place. Just set it down there for now. And then the threads for your tailpiece, and see, this is the bevel washer. This is kind of almost your last line of defense, if you will. This bevel washer will help you out a lot. This outlet needs to face the back side of your actual vanity. So you want to get up here, thread this into place. Right now, when you thread it in, that flange, as it's kind of facing the front, just turn to the back, which is why I told you you don't need to wait for that plumber's putty to cure. All right? And then what I want you to do next is go ahead and push that bevel washer back up with your hand, best as you can. And if you got kind of stubby fingers, that's okay. That lock washer, once you start threading it up, it's going to push that bevel washer the rest of the way up into the bottom of your sink basin. And simultaneously, what will happen is the excess plumber's putty will start to kind of squeeze itself out depending on how thick of a bead you put on there. Right? So you want to tighten that down best as possible. Now, this little lift rod assembly, I want to show you something about this. Put a cap back on my plumber's putty here. You have a couple of options with this horizontal lift rod. You have the option to either put the actual rod through the hole of the actual stopper itself, little hole here. You have an option to do that. This is going to prevent anybody from pulling the stopper fully out. This is going to be ideal for those parents who have kids who are prone to putting stuff down in the actual drain. Or if you're like, hey, I need to rescue some of the stuff down the drain myself, cool. And when you install it, put it this way or this way, but don't put it through the hole. So this thing was going to help you out. So if you want to be able to pull your stopper out fully, set it on top of the rod, not set the rod through it. All right. What you do is go ahead and set it down in there and go ahead and put little fins on there. That's what helps it snap into place. So we're going to put it back here. Snaps right into place. I like to open the drain, keep it in the open position. I'll show you why in just a few moments here. I'll go ahead and drop the lift rod backside of the actual faucet. Remember, this little blue has all these little multiple holes. The horizontal rod is going to go through one of these holes. So when it's in the open position, it's pointing down. I need to match it with one of these particular holes, and then the hasp will just sit down on top of it and lock it into place. All right. So I'll attach it to the lift rod first, quick connect, and then the horizontal rod. I want to find the closest hole that matches where it is in the current position. Once I feel confident in that, I will actually snap that blue hasp right on top of it. And we're good to go. So let me go ahead and turn it to the side for you all. Here we go. On it back. All right. See how that kind of went through one of those holes? That blue hasp came right down on top of it. You see your extension rod. Excuse me, your lift rod. This is the extension. And then you're good to go. So kind of showing you what it looks like. All right. So once again, right? That's how that works. Pretty simple. This used to be like a science project for me when I first started doing these plumbing projects. I could never figure out how to get the pop-up drain assembly. And one of the keys is opening the actual drain so that you can have proper alignment for the hole. I know not every lift rod or pop-up drain assembly is made exactly like this, but this is going to be ideal to kind of show you the setup process. If you keep it in the open position, which means this rod needs to be down, it's going to help you set up regardless of what type of setup you actually have. Right, so just wanted to kind of show you all what that looks like. Should be maybe a 10, maybe a 15-minute project. I would definitely let this read the recommendations on the plumber's putty of how long it takes for this stuff to kind of properly cure. You can go ahead and get the excess out of there, right? You don't want that to dry into place. There's still going to be some down under there. And some people will even take some silicone, like clear or white, and kind of seal it down in there on top of it, but it's kind of a recommendation or preference, if you will. I lean on the side of safety. I don't want any potential water damage there. So That's what I actually would recommend that you all actually do, right? So take this display down. Hopefully, this is beneficial. When you get to that last part for the popper grade assembly, what I encourage you to do, take like a 8-ounce cup of water, wait about maybe 12 to 24 hours before you use that particular drain. And what I would encourage you to do, pour some water down in there. That way it gets around that flange that we just talked about, the plumber's putty. If you don't see any water trickling down under the actual faucet itself, then you should be good to go. But it's a pretty simple process. We covered a lot of information, different types of faucets from 4-inch intersets to the single hole to the 8-inch wide spread. Once again, the steps for the most part for a kitchen or a bathroom faucet are the same. Turn the water all valves off first. Then a couple of troubleshooting things to do just in case the valve is not functioning or you can't even find the valves. Turn off to the entire home, folks. It'll be the easiest way to then bleed your system by turning on multiple water sources throughout your actual home to get as much water out in your pipes as possible. So when you disconnect those supply lines, you won't have a mess on your hand. Okay. Always refer still to the manufacturing instructions from the specific make and model of faucet that you purchase to make sure you don't skip any steps. It's going to cause any type of issues or malfunctioning with your actual faucet. You want to make sure that you all have some peace of mind when it comes to doing this type of project. Look, hopefully this should be beneficial. We have more workshops. We have more DIY workshops, homeowner one-on-one workshops where we give you high-level insight on how to approach certain projects, be them big, even small. But here, we're trying to be your one-stop shop for all doers. We're trying to get more done, folks. My name is Emmanuel. On behalf of our entire team in Home Depot, we want to say thank you for joining us. You could have been doing anything else with your time, but you chose to spend it with us. So until then, we hope you have a great day. See you in the next workshop.